Two Queers and a Truck. And I'm James Gunn, and my sidekick, Christian Cano, partner with Gunn, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jim's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon.
Good morning, everybody. It is Two Queers in a Truck time. And it is August 27th, believe it or not. It's even weird saying that. I can't believe it's August because we record this particular episode 2 weeks in advance. So if some of this information is a little dated, so be it.
He'll come back around, though, with him.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Nothing with these Nazi Republicans gets outdated. I mean, we could probably use some shows from 6 years ago and
it'd be exactly the same.
Oh, yeah. You change the circumstances and the dates, but the idiocy just continues. Like it's because we started this particular show in 2020 during the height of COVID. In fact, I think we did the first shows of Two Queers masked up.
That's right. In this specific expedition.
Yeah,
by the way,
actually we did. That is the irony. Is that we were driving around Charlotte. That's why it got started. The name got started Two Queers and Truck because we were bored out of our mind and social distancing was the norm. Because this was a spin-off show from the show we still do, which is Coffee and Pan Dulce, which is on before this. So if you don't watch that show or listen to that show, I welcome you to listen to our flagship show. Actually, it's our main show. It's the thing that started all of this in 2018. But the irony is that we had been experimenting with different after shows, and then we thought, well, during the pandemic, we have to social distance. But Christian and I were around each other all the time because we're like family. And at that time we lived really close together. So
that's right.
We thought it would be funny to go driving around Charlotte.
That's true.
And we put on our little masks the first couple episodes, and we
put the phone on in the expedition at a corner. And I remember the first. Go ahead, Jen.
And we just were driving around making observations, and it was Two Queers in a truck.
In a truck, that's right. But I remember the first time we did it, I had the phone somewhere and it got too hot.
Yep.
Because the sun was hitting it and then it stopped recording or something. I remember we had to move it around. Yeah. It was so bootleg. That was
several times in the first couple episodes.
That's true.
The angle of where you put the suction up.
Yeah, that's right.
That was hilarious in itself. It's the show's definitely come a long way. We didn't time segments. We just talked until we got tired of talking.
That's right.
We did the same thing with the coffee show too.
That's true.
We've had some episodes that are like an hour and a half long. We definitely were very, very not very mindful of people's time. But we try to keep these both shows now, and all of our shows to a certain time limits as much as possible. In fact, many times you'll hear my little alarm go off as I do time segments. I try to keep them 5 to 6 minutes most of the time. And we try to do 6 segments, which I try to keep track of them in my head, but I sometimes get a little conky wonka. But the irony of irony is that, the shows have evolved over the years. Coffee show a little bit more than this show. Mainly because, we've had guests and co-hosts come and go. And the times have changed. It's the United States is remarkably different than it was in 2020 or 2018. Our country is been forever changed, and it's a lot different. Our life post-pandemic United States and the world is a different place.
Yeah.
And without acknowledging that, you're a fool. Our world has changed drastically. Technology has changed our world drastically. My wife and I were talking about the other day how different our world was. We've gone back and watched all the Marvel movies in order of release date, and how different the technologies were in those movies compared to now. Even the technologies are using, like flip phones versus smartphones, and there's little nuanced differences that you can see in the lives and in the world compared to the 1990s or early 2000s, compared to now, which now our technologies and the way we buy things on Walmart Plus and Amazon and how a lot of people don't go into stores anymore.
Yeah.
How many people get stuff delivered right to the door to where they don't even go shopping anymore? It's changed the landscape of American business, and our lifestyle is so different than it was pre 2020, pre 2019. Yeah. A lot of people work remotely now. There's very few people that office outside of their home or a co-working space. There is a plethora of co-working spaces here in West Hollywood and in Hollywood, which is where I live now. And I live on the West Coast. Christian still lives on the East Coast. So we're an East Coast, West Coast show. So
the elites in the East Coast, the East Coast elites.
Yeah, the East Coast elites.
And the West Coast, I don't know, what do y'all call it? What does he call
the
y'all?
Fruits? I don't know.
I don't know. The leftists.
The leftists, the left coast liberals.
It's liberal. I don't know. It's whatever he says. So stupid.
They laugh about California. This brings up a conversations that we had off air before we recorded these last two shows. The one we're recording right now and the one we recorded before this is we laugh about how the mouth breathers of MAGA, the Nazi Republican voter that is typically that lives in rural areas or suburbs. They don't live in the main part of the cities. That's why most cities are blue. They don't travel as much. They're usually not well traveled. They, and if they do go on vacations, it's like to the lake, or they go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or Branson, Missouri. And I'm not knocking those, but they're drive-to destinations. You're not going to fly to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. You're going to drive to Gatlinburg. It's usually a regional trip. Most of their visitors live 4 to 6 hours away, and they travel there by car. I know I worked in a rural tourist town for years, and I know the statistics. And versus people that come to Hollywood and Disneyland and all the things that Southern California have to offer into the beach, a lot of people that visit here fly. And it's a more elite vacation than going to Branson, Missouri, or Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Things are more expensive in California, but they're also worth it. The city's way more upscale than anything you'd find in the South. LA runs circles around Dallas or Houston, even. We living here adjacent to Beverly Hills. It's beautiful. But a lot of these conservatives live in these silos, these very tight silos, don't realize places like Chicago and LA are very beautiful cities. They have, they spend money on infrastructure. They spend money on security. They spend money on the looks of these. These are not crime overridden cities. And unlike the false narrative of Washington, D.C., which ironically, we always know when they're pushing a narrative, it's usually to distract for something or it's setting up the next scam. And them invading Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, with the military, when crime has been at a 30-year low.
Yeah.
And violent crime is the lowest it's been in 6 years in Washington, D.C. And crime is tied to economics.
Mm-hmm.
So violent crime especially is tied to economics. So is Trump saying that he knows the economy in Washington, D.C. is going to get so bad because all the mass layoffs he's doing? And so he's bringing in the military to stomp down a revolution? Is he afraid of his own safety? Is he bringing in troops to protect himself or to distract from the Epstein files? You be the judge. But to me, violent crime is always tied to economic struggles. People don't turn to violence and crime unless they are starving or they need the money. Nobody goes and robs a convenience store because it's fun. It's not like a day at the spa. It's a lot of risk with very little reward. Stealing, breaking into people's houses, selling drugs is not the funnest occupation. And there's a lot of risk with these types of choices to make money. We are up against our first break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in a Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye. We are back. And so I'm wondering if he's trying to anticipate, and he's also using an excuse because he tried invading California with troops.
Yeah. Which
we rejected, and we pushed away. We went into court to get it stopped. And that's why we don't have troops running all over LA. We said, no, we don't need federal troops in LA. One, it's unconstitutional, and two, it's just wrong. We don't need military trying to help assist rounding up people. We don't want people rounded up here anyway. And we're resisting. But we also don't have economic problems out here either. The California economy is booming despite all the tariffs and everything else because we have such a diverse, powerful economy. We make a lot of money off environmental science. We make a lot of money off manufacturing. The import-export business is still doing very well out here. A lot of countries around the world, and a lot of people around the world want to do business with California. They know we have a good, solid Democrat governor that is a common sense governor that very likely will be the next president of the United States. And many countries want to ingratiate themselves with California right now. They're lining up. And blue states is one of the reasons why states with Democrat governors do so well economically. That's one of the reasons North Carolina's boomed. Is they've been under Democrat control since 2017. We've had back-to-back Roy Cooper tenures, and now we have, I just blanked on his name, Josh Stein, as governor. And then you have a Democrat attorney general as well. And that stability of Democrats at the helm have done great. Same with Illinois and Chicago. They've had a Democrat governor for a while, and they have a really good one right now. And the stability of Democrat leadership, and it's one of the reasons most big cities have Democrats in charge, is because big cities are like running a state. I mean, there's more people in Mecklenburg County than in the whole state of Vermont, or South Dakota, or North Dakota. Many of these flyover states, many of these smaller northeastern states have a smaller population than where Charlotte's at. Definitely LA, definitely Chicago, where there's millions upon millions of people, and it's a lot harder to run a big population county like that, especially to run it well.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that people trust Democrats over Republicans, because Republicans have knee-jerk emotional reactions, and conservatives have knee-jerk emotional reactions to everything they do. Everything is about them. Everything, they're always upset. There's always a crisis. That's what Christian churches are. It's always about something that the devil's doing.
Exactly.
These are teabagged, emotional wreck, unstable people. Religious people are unstable by deal, because they're always the victim. They're always a martyr. They're all in their minds. They're always martyrs. So they have these emotional responses. And religion, especially Christianity, and especially American Christianity, often recruits people that are the downtrodden. The especially people that are recovering alcoholics or recovering drug addicts, the divorce, the people that have gone through the biggest struggles. If you notice, the churches have very predatory recruiting processes.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention they go after kids
Exactly.
in many different ways. And so because of those type of practices, and because of the emotionality and the belief system that's based on opinion, conservatives in general aren't really conservative by their nature. They're very emotional, ups and downs. You see a guy like Trump that's not a religious conservative, but he's a conservative in certain ways. And you see this emotional roller coaster that he writes. Just go read what he writes on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck right after this message.
Hi everybody, this is Yorense from the Americo show over here. All I'm here is doing a little quick PSA. Use this summer to do volunteer work. Go to your nearest YMCA, go to your nearest homeless shelter, go to whatever community services or programs that you can help out and volunteer. Because right now, we have a bunch of fascist pieces of shit trying to rip apart our country and rip apart the people, our communities, by spreading hate and bigotry. The best way to combat it is, one, working in your community and standing strong to show that you are strong and you're here to help out others. Two, combat misinformation. If you hear bullshit, first research and make sure if it's true or not. If it is not true, call it out. If it is true, get the facts. Be knowledgeable of it, because it might come out later. So always stand against that. And three, fuck fascists. Stand against them. Make them feel uncomfortable. There is too many people out there feeling like they can say the hard R or say slurs or be violent. Make them understand that a lot of people die to make sure this hatred and bigotry does not exist. All our civil rights workers, all the people who restored normity, everybody who fought against intolerance and hatred, they died and worked their asses off to stop this. So follow in their footsteps and stop this madness. This is Yorense again from Americo, and all I can say is be there for your community and stand up for what's right. Fuck fascism and have a wonderful day.
Hey y'all, thanks for listening to Two Queers in a Truck. And we do broadcasts on YouTube and Facebook in a video version, and we're also on all the audio platforms out there. So your favorite way to listen to your podcast. We've been doing this for a couple years, and we appreciate y'all listening. We know you have a ton of choices, even though we may be the best choice. We always appreciate our listeners, and we'll try to bring you quality in the future. Thanks for listening. As always, Christian and Jenny, we're out. Thank y'all. But just watch how conservatives behave. Rush Limbaugh was the same way. Drug addict, pillhead.
Exactly.
For most of his adult life, almost all the years that he broadcast, he was a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
Hardcore drug addict. And look at the emotional roller coasters that he went up and down. Years on the air, how he laughed about people dying of HIV in the 1990s. Look at somebody that laughs about things they shouldn't be laughing about. Look at some of these conservative comedians like a Dave Shitpale that laughs about a trans woman dying. Well, there's so many other things to make fun of in this world and laugh about. We can laugh about a lot of things. And there's some funny things even about transitioning. My wife and I make jokes about transitioning all the time. There are some funny things about being queer. You know, there's some big old queenie gay men out there. There's some big old queenie straight men out there. They're called Republicans. There's a lot of funny things out there. Without having to go after things that we shouldn't or punching down on people. There's a lot of... But the drama of these emotionally immature conservatives, Nazis, is obvious by the responses. Look at the insecurity of which Dumpster blathers on as a pontificating idiot. Like he just fucking the emotional highs and lows that he goes through in just one tweet. Just a one little deal. It sounds like it's written by a 13-year-old boy. That may be in so many 13-year-old boys out there. But he's got the emotional maturity of somebody going through puberty. And this guy's an 80-year-old man. And he's been this way the whole time. You know, if you really break down even his famous thing with Billy Bush, I take what I want. I'm rich. I'm powerful. I grab them by the bleep. Think about who else would say that but a teenage boy to his buddy, you know.
Exactly.
You know, in the hallway the other day, I groped this one girl because I can't because my daddy's rich. It sounds like a boy. It sounds like somebody that's emotionally stunted and immature and idiotic. When you hear these TV preachers, Ray Elegance, the gay community, the trans community, and they make up these lies and they flop around and shake and just they whip people up in an emotional frenzy over nothing. They make up these crises that don't even exist. Like this whole thing about the bathroom segregation. Texas hell bent on passing another bathroom bill if they haven't passed it already. Regulating bathrooms, which is a horrible idea for women in general, not just trans women, but cisgendered women that maybe have a masculine haircut or a little bit taller or a little bit broader or a little bit more muscular. Think about all the cis women out there that are fit as a fiddle, that have a more boxy appearance by their muscular shape. They're not curvy. They're athletic looking. And from behind, with a short haircut, because they usually have short hair because they're in training and they don't want to have hair flopping in their face. So a lot of them wear very short haircuts that are considered boy cuts or side shaves. How many of those can be mistaken as men? How many of those are going to get harassed if businesses start putting in bathroom police? Which has happened, by the way. It's happened a lot. There's been a lot of lesbians that have gotten kicked out of hotels and restaurants because they're too butch. And it's an emotional response against a scare of something different. We went through this with people of color as well in the 1950s and 60s. Oh, they can't eat at the same lunch counter as us for blah, 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 various reasons because they look different. And discriminating on somebody's appearance is what we're going through with ICE, too. If you look Mexican, because they think everybody that looks a certain way has got to be Mexican. when that's not true. You could be Moroccan, you could be, there's a lot of ethnicities that have very similar skin tones. And they don't, first of all, they equate very white, pink skin with being American, which is silly in itself because the indigenous Americans had reddish brown skin and the Native Americans. So that's already a crock of crap. But anybody that has any kind of tan or brown tones in this country, we were just watching one of Sacha Baron Cohen's older comedies that came out in 2012 called The Dictator. And there's this scene where John C. Reilly to the dictator Sacha Baron Cohen's deal and his basically his Secretary of State. And John C. Reilly is that curly-headed comedian that was in Step Brothers and in Talladega Nights. And he was saying, as an aside, I don't really care for you people because I don't like Arabs. And they said, well, we're not Arabs. We're, blah, blah, blah. We're sub-Saharan Africans. And he goes, no, you're all Arabs to me. If you don't look American, then I call you all Arabs. And then he went on to name off what he considers an Arab. And it was like the blue-skinned, tree-hugging queers from Avatar. It doesn't matter. There's some truth to comedy. And one of them is that these rednecks that live in these rural areas, and to bring it full circle back to the original premise of the show, today's show, was that these people live in trailer parks. They live in these rural areas, these very siloed areas where they just don't get out and touch grass much. They don't know anything about Chicago, which Christian just visited just recently. They don't know about LA. They're petrified of San Francisco. They're petrified of California. You hear them talk about it and they go, it's so scary out there in California. I go, have you been out here? Oh, no, I would never go out there. Okay. Well, I'm okay with that because I really don't want the great unwashed of the redneck, red counties coming here, honestly. I'd rather have well-to-do people from France or England or Japan come here that are cultured and mannered. But in case you hillbillies come out here, you may be surprised how beautiful it is. And because many of these redneck Nazi Republican voters believe hook, line, and sinker because they only visit places that are more, how shall I say, white trash.
Like the Dollar General.
Yeah, they go to the Dollar General vacation places. They can't afford to go to Disney.
Yeah.
Because that's why they don't live in a big city, because they can't afford to live in the big city.
Exactly.
And this is probably going to sound elitist, but it's okay. LA, and especially where I live, is an elite place. Not everybody can live here. Not everybody can qualify to live in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Not everybody can live in Beverly Hills. And the truth is, not everybody can live in a beautiful place like Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Charlotte's a beautiful city. It's an elite city, but it's a very Democrat city. Chicago is a very democratically run city. It's a beautiful city. There's a reason why Oprah Winfrey and many other celebrities live. Oprah can live anywhere. She's worth over $1 billion. She could travel and live anywhere in the world she does, but she still lives in Chicago for a reason. That's why many people choose to retire in Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. is a very elite city.
It's a beautiful city. Yeah.
Many cities that they try to convince these mouth-breathing redneck idiots that are terrible, they're not terrible to us. There's a reason why LA is so big. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful flipping city. But we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck after this message. Hey y'all, this is Jetty with Two Queers in a Truck, and Christian's along with me, and we're just having fun, and we're looking forward to the 2025 season, and super excited. We have some neat things going on in our whole family of shows, including Coffee and Pan Dulce, and many new shows that are brewing. Get it, and we are excited for 2025 and all the chicanery and other things that comes with it. So happy new year, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye y'all.
Bye y'all. Bye boo.
Bye boo. But the reason why Charlotte and Mecklenburg County has grown so much, because it's a well-run city, and it's a nice city, and Democrats make sure their cities run well. And it's why we're in control of most of the big cities in the United States, especially the top 20. There is not a top 20 city in the United States that has Republican control. In fact, I don't think there's a top 50 city that's probably Republican run. There's not many. Because once a city gets above, say, 300,000-400,000, hits that 500,000 mark, which is most of the top 50 cities in the United States, they usually have a Democrat-led city administration. There's very few cities that have a Republican. For sure in the top 20, there's none. Yeah. Jacksonville, Florida was the last one, and it ended up electing a Democrat for the first time in a few years because they realized they needed a Democrat in charge. Many of these cities turn into a fucking train wreck when Republicans take them over. Budget deficits, crime goes up, they screw up so many things, and then the Democrat has to come in and save it. Kind of like the story of the presidency. A Democrat's bailed out a Republican failed president every time since Eisenhower. There's a reason why we shouldn't, there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't elect Republicans, but this whole misnomer that Chicago and LA and Washington, D.C. are overrun with crime and they're miserable and they're not pretty, and the Southern California is overrun with illegals, supposedly, could be further from the truth. I live in the epicenter of the city in the Hollywood Hills in West Hollywood, and I can tell you what, LA is a beautiful city. Now, do we have challenges? Sure. We're a city of over 10 million people, including the suburbs and everything else. It's a massive, sprawling, hundreds of miles of city. It's bigger than some states. We're a massive landmass city. It's LA goes forever when you count Long Beach and Malibu and all that. But we're a very well-run city. We are a shining example of what progressive politics can do. We can run things. Democrats can run things. We're good administrators. We're our attention to detail, and we typically have above average intelligence on a lot of things. Sometimes not always some common sense, but and we definitely don't have a shortage of cowardice in the Democrat Party. But we do know how to run things. Biden was a phenomenal administrator of the federal government. He cut the budget shortfall by billions and billions of dollars, got us on the right path to getting eventually a budget surplus by the end of the decade, which that's all wrecked. That's all gone. But a second term with Vice President Harris at the helm would have kept us on economic recovery and short up our federal government shortfalls that Trump had created. Trump had created tremendous deficits with his tax cuts. He was wrecking our budget, and the cost overspend, the tremendous amount of spending during the Trump administration. I forgot it's not wanting to start a war. Sure does spend a lot of money on military, and sure does deploy a lot of people, including in the United States.
He's obsessed. He's like a little child obsessed with army men.
Oh yeah.
He lives in this world that it's childish.
It's very teenage like. But conservatives are a lot like teenage boys.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings me to my last subject, which is talking about Hedgepath or whatever his name is.
Hedgehog.
Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Hedgehog, is repeating the crap that his bigoted pastor is saying about taking away women's right to vote. And that women shouldn't vote for whatever myriad of mouth-breather reasons. And I find it interesting that we've had over 100 years of women's suffrage, women voting. They got ratified in the early 20th century. In fact, we passed the 100th anniversary, I think, in 2020 or 2019. And I find it weird, but they're trying to roll back everything. They're trying to roll back voting rights and all the voting right acts from the 1960s. They've already rolled back Title X, which was programs for low-income women to access reproductive care, including visits and pap smears and maintenance and things like that. It's not just paying for abortion. You watch trans medical rights disappear in about 30 different states for anybody below 19. Transitioning is harder than ever. There was a hospital system, Atrium, in Charlotte, North Carolina, that is now not going to do any affirming care for anybody, including surgeries. They've pulled out of trans healthcare completely. People are losing body autonomy. When you've got marauding thugs running around the streets wearing masks and posing as federal officers and grabbing people, you've got a problem. And it's like if a 13-year-old boy decided to be president of the United States and inherited the country from his daddy. Is the way Trump operates. It's very childish. It's very knee-jerk to just throw away money rounding up people and building detention centers, which is costing the taxpayer a tremendous amount of money. And these people building these detention centers are making a fortune. They're definitely not putting it into the detention center, which begs the question, where's the money going?
Yeah.
But it's another scam. It's another scam. These are just scams. These are money grabs. These are to pay back all the people that helped get him elected. And it is also to get back at all the people he perceives as his enemy, which again is a very boyish, low rent, childish mentality. I'm going to get them. I'm going to show them. When I grow up, I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
And again, which comes from the conservative right and the religious right, which is, we're the victims. It's harder to be white people more than ever in the United States. That white Christians have developed this victimhood. Oh, somebody being gay affects me. Somebody getting married to a gay man affects me. They're trying to undo same-sex marriage equality, which I predicted they were going to do. When they passed that watered-down bill that turned into law back during the Biden administration, supposedly protecting marriage equality, I said they put too many loopholes in that thing. That's why it passed. But mark my words, are going to come after it. Marriage equality is going to end this year. SCOTUS is going to shoot down marriage equality. What the consequence of that will be, I don't know. But for future same-sex or same-gender couples, if you don't live in a state that affirms and will protect that, i.e. a blue state, you ain't going to be able to get married in that state. So if you live in Texas or Florida or Georgia or any other mouth breather state, the marriage equality is about to end for you. It's going to end this year. SCOTUS is there's a conservative liberal breakdown could 6 people on that judge on that panel on SCOTUS right now that are conservative, staunch conservatives that are anti-gay marriage. And they've got the perfect argument because it's the same argument they used against trans people. It's the same argument they used against abortion. And they're using it against human rights and civil rights and body autonomy. But mark my words, just as I said in 2022, abortion is over across the board. It won't be the high law of the land anymore. And marriage equality, after a little over 10 years, it is over. If you hear that bell tolling, it is the mourn gay marriage. The marriage equality is over. And the people who are already married, obviously, they can't undo that. But for the future couples that haven't gotten married and don't live in a state like California, he ain't gonna be able to get married. It's not going to survive this latest round. Elections have consequences, and the big cock of consequences is about to affect a lot of people besides trans people in this country. And if you guys aren't paying attention, you probably should. So on that note, we will dance on out of this episode of Two Queers in a Truck on August 27th, 2025. And enjoy your Labor Day weekend. We'll see you in September. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Hey, y'all. Thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. And as always, be safe out there. We got a holiday weekend coming up, which is Labor Day weekend. Traffic's going to be crazy in some parts of the United States. And it's still pretty warm in most parts of the country, especially in the South. Pace yourself, drink a lot of water, and as always, be safe out there. There's a lot of lunatics running around with masks. Have a great week, and see you in September. Bye, y'all. Bye, dude.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.